That wasn't so forthcoming. It was a late invite anyway. It would have been nice if they were here to join us. We also have the first speaker will be Dineshwar Basdeo, architectural activist. He is also a militant activist, should I say. He is also the vice president of CYBID. And then, audience, welcome. Nice to see a relatively big crowd here. And I'm going to basically hand over to Dinesh. He's going to start off. This is going to be interactive. We're going to be open for questions, so please make notes if you'll have to. There is going to be a chance for y'all to interact. All right. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the last session of the day. What Videsh failed to remind you all is the South African Institute of Building Design is 45 years old this year. Right? So we have been in existence for a long time, and we have been championing the cause for the architectural professional. The topic today is to contextualize the role of RPL in architecture for the transformation of the built environment. This is a very sensitive topic. There's lots of resistance from architectural professionals who believe the transformation in the architectural professional should not take place. Right? And I have been given timelines, so I may have to cut my conversation short, so please forgive me. But please engage with the document. It's a national strategic priority of government, and you need to be alert to the fact of what's happening around in the built environment, and the fact that government is talking about land redistribution, and how we are asking the question how government plans to fit in the built environment professional to its land distribution program. Right? So for me to start off, I'm going to say that the year 2018 marks a revolutionary milestone in the long walk to freedom for all South Africans. We honor 100 years of a great South African leader and a global icon, the living legacy of Nelson Mandela. I have walked a long road to freedom. I have tried to falter. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back at the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended. Greetings to all. It is an honor to be here today. I am Dineshwar Basdeo, an architectural activist and a transformation visionary. I'm a member of the civil rights group, Active Citizens Movement, and the Deputy President of CYBID. I am here today to create awareness and champion the cause of the historically disadvantaged in the built environment. My primary focus is on the cycle of poverty and inequality perpetuated in and through the built environment and human settlements. How many of you have read the CB Bulletin, the January 2018 edition? If you have not, there's some startling revelations in the document. Firstly, it states that transformation measures must include any group who has been heretofore marginalized or stereotyped. It further states that it does not mean that no effort has been made to transform the built environment professions. Several initiatives are ongoing, and one is hoping to see progress in the next couple of years. Guys, 24 years, in the next couple of years, what's going on here? We then say the preamble to the South African Constitution is definitive in its constitutional approach. Recognize the injustices of our past, heal the divisions of the past, establish a society based on democratic values, social justices, and fundamental human rights. The Bill of Rights is prescriptive in its mandate to government with respect to its constitutional obligations to the citizens of South Africa. 55(2)(a)(b) of the Constitution says that the National Assembly must provide for mechanisms to ensure that all executive organs of state in the national sphere of government are accountable to it and to maintain oversight of the exercise of the national executive authority, including the implementation of legislation. 85(2)(a)(b) of the Constitution assigns responsibility for developing and implementing legislation and policy to the President and the Cabinet. 92(3)(a)(b) of the Constitution states, members of the Cabinet must act in accordance with the Constitution and provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control. The question we ask is, who is responsible for the failure to monitor and evaluate the implementation of policies and legislation in the built environment with respect to transformation and social justice for the historically disadvantaged built environment professionals, especially those practicing architecture? CBE, under its transformation heading race and gender transformation, it says the timeline, or we say that the timeline that CBE has identified post-apartheid is a reality. Guys, if you haven't read the bulletin, CBE has identified timelines. We are telling CBE those timelines you have identified is a reality. The injustices perpetuated historically in the built environment professions cannot be remedied with low-cost steps and radical transformation. What is radical transformation? Can anyone answer that? What is radical transformation? What is low-cost steps? What is that? It is impossible to reduce the required number of architecture professionals from architecture learning sites within the next 50 years. Guys, this is a reality. Please, don't be fooled. We estimate a shortfall of 27,000 architectural professionals. It is conditional to massive transfer of land ownership to the black demographic that is managed in an inclusive growth path which is sustainable and responsible. Guys, there's some more facts coming out of that bulletin. How do the citizens of South Africa interpret the white demographic statistics of 7.9% in relation to the professional architecture statistic of 75%? We're not doing the guesswork. We've invited CBE to answer all of these questions. Right? We are saying don't publish stats if you can't justify the reason why you published it. We're then asking what conclusions can the citizens of South Africa arrive at after interpreting the black demographic statistics of 80.8% in relation to the professional architecture statistic of 14%. We're not answering, we're asking. Since we explain this to us, now we have 20% knowledge. We then ask another question, does the statistics prove that government's narrative that the minority demographic controls the South African economy? Is it correct to assume, based on the statistics, that the low demand for black architectural professionals is directly related to the ownership of land? Why is there such a low demand for black architectural professionals? No one is answering these critical questions. Can an assumption be tabled that the majority of black South African demographics is landless, lives in informal settlements on rural land and tribal land? How will this impact on government's land redistribution program with respect to the availability of built environment professionals to service the beneficiaries of land redistribution, including infrastructure rolled by government? All of these conversations we have about land redistribution, we are asking government, do you have in place the mechanisms to support your rollout? If tomorrow I give 18 million black people land, is there available 27,000 architectural professionals to service that community or those communities? Can the universities produce 27,000 architectural professionals? Is it possible to be done in the next 50 years? Are we going to go to India, China and Cuba to import the skills? These are the questions we are asking government. We have engaged with government. Government refuses to speak to us. We've been to NDPW, we've been to CBE, we have been to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. We are now taking the conversation outside the boardroom, and we are engaging with the public to create awareness that there's a big problem out there in the built environment professional, and we need to take this seriously. We then say another critical problem is we observe the systematic resistance by architecture learning sites to transform and find alternative methods of teaching architecture, including decolonization of Western architectural education. Guys, Michael Douglas was at the report clerk. Videsh Buddhu was they can testify as witnesses to what took place at Bloemfontein in 2016. I'm not going to speak on it, but if you need an affidavit, there's the two gentlemen, they can testify. And then we ask, how many of you are aware of the fact that the missing middle in architecture, guys, we're going to give you a definition of the missing middle later, but we say the missing middle in architecture continue to experience discrimination 47 years after the promulgation of the Architects Act of 1970, 41 years later after the 1976 Student Rights, 17 years later after the repeal of the Architects Act of 1970, and 24 years into a constitutional democracy. This is shocking. Did you know that the recognition of prior learning is a national strategic objective of the South African government, for which the Honorable Minister Bredin Zemande lost his job? Because he was the only minister that championed RPL. From 2012, we tracked him with the green paper, the white paper, the task team, and in 2017, the articulation policy. Finally, he was out of office. Are you aware that architectural learning sites will only recognize your formal learned architectural knowledge 24 years into our constitutional democracy? 24 years into our constitutional democracy, the majority of South Africans experience inequality and their economic freedom revolve around poverty. How do we broaden opportunities for all South Africans whilst placing emphasis on the historically disadvantaged to reduce inequality and poverty in and through the built environment? What mechanisms can be developed to broaden workplace opportunities for the historically disadvantaged communities in and through the built environment? Guys, I have been speaking to a few gentlemen here, and many of them cannot obtain mentorship. The system has excluded them. When we look at the stats, the stats that show 1,647 black registered professionals, because the balance of them are not in the system because they can't get mentorship. Yet the CBE and the NDPW continues to say that we have all of these mechanisms in place for monitoring and skilling our professionals. We are now saying it is time for you to account to the citizens of South Africa and account to the architectural professionals, and we are asking the architectural professionals to repossess their profession from those who continue to suppress the profession. We then ask, we then going to just quote from the Ministerial Tasking Report on the National Strategy for the Implementation of the Recognition of Prior Learning. This was done under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Bredin Zemande. He says that the vision for RPL implementation is to challenge conventional knowledge hierarchies in the interest of widening access to lifelong learning opportunities for adults who can contribute to the production of new knowledge and in the interest of social, economic and environmental justice and sustainability. The report notes the following on RPL. It provides opportunities for those who were unfairly treated in the past, reduce inequality in society that are based on privileging certain forms of knowledge over others. People to be formally recognized and honored for what they know, and for people to participate in the formal economy and contribute to creative and meaningful work. The report further states that RPL provides access to lifelong learning opportunities and to a global knowledge economy through an education and training system that enables articulation and mobility within the different pathways. And I think this is where we have to give credit to Dr. Yashen Lakan for his efforts in pursuing this alternative.
No.
Through alternative routes for formal education and training and through skills development. We then ask the critical question, how can we as a society, the historically advantaged and the new privileged architectural professionals from all demographics, solve the challenges and take advantage of the opportunities in and through the built environment by providing capacity and integration in an inclusive growth path in and through the built environment by cooperation and collaboration. Thank you. I think I'm going to hand over to Videsh for the
Thanks, Dinesh. Did you actually get the problem? Do you all see the problem? Where are the thousands of Cuban architects that the DPW imported a few years ago? They can't even speak the language properly. And we have homegrown professionals here that, for whatever reason, that's what the problem is, that work is not being given to. You rather give an imported Cuban professional the job. That's part of the problem. We have roughly just under 10,000 architectural professionals, ranging from draftsmen all the way to architects. And we have a population of 56 million roughly. That works out to one architect per 56,000 persons. Or if you take an average family of 3.5, you know where the half comes from, right? So between 3 and 4, so let's call it 3.5. That's one architectural professional per 16,000 households. How many of you all here in your profession have done 16,000 houses? So do you all see the problem? Right? Okay, so I just wanted to expand on the problem and give you all some data. But more importantly, and this is what Dinesh was trying to expand on, we have 8% of the 56 is 8% white. And we have 6,937 architectural professionals that are white. Again, I'm not racist, I hate talking about color and what have you, but if you're getting opposition to an HDI climbing the ladder, then I have to talk about this. Right? And the balance, or let's just say black, 1,670 professionals, most of which have an imposed ceiling over there. They cannot improve, they cannot vertically climb the ladder. But it's not just the black. Every race group. If you're in the profession and you want to improve yourself, there is a cap. You cannot improve yourself, and that's where the problem is. So, having said that, there is a slideshow that Dinesh has, which we're not going to go through the whole slideshow. That's going to take too long. Is to go through a couple of those pointers. Before I hand over back to Dinesh, I have handouts of, not many, but I do have handouts of that slideshow. It's lying on the table here. And having listened to his speech, do you all have any questions? I'm allowing like 2 or 3 questions and then we're going to go.
How are the different qualifications for these professionals? Like, are they getting qualified from different universities? Is that where the issue is? Or is it more what groups are getting the actual bids? I'm interested in what the backgrounds are, where they're getting qualified.
Sorry, I didn't get an introduction. You are?
My name is Brandon. I'm a master's student. I'm visiting from New York City in the States.
Thanks, Brandon, and welcome to South Africa. Hope you're enjoying Durban. That's good. Okay. Because you're from the USA, I need to hopefully I'm not going to take too long. South Africa is unique. We have 4 different categories of professionals. Sorry, can you all hear? There's a lot of noise coming from the other side. Okay, we have 4 different categories of professionals, ranging from draftsmen, professional architectural draftsmen, to professional technologists, senior professional technologists, and professional architects. I know in the USA it is different. You'll have architects and you'll have building designers or whatever. I don't know how y'all what's the terminology there. The reason, very quickly, the reason for that is obviously we have to redress the past apartheid in South Africa. Having said all of that, there is a whole lot of opposition, or currently the only method to become an architect, a professional architect, is university. So they only recognize a qualification. But what is a qualification? It's graduation. You're a graduate, you're not a professional. You still have to go through, again, it's a very long topic and I don't. We have currently a whole lot of opposition that prevents anyone that's qualified to below that architectural professional level, however much mentored you are, whether you're an HDI, you grew up in the old South Africa and studied in the old South Africa, and you were prevented to get a qualification. There is this opposition to people using RPL. If you know what RPL is, recognition of prior learning, right? There's this major opposition to it. Now, instead of using that, like I said earlier, instead of using the people from here, the homegrown people, you're importing people from Cuba, and suddenly they disappear. No one even knows where they are. They're still practicing. I don't know. But why import people? Okay. So that, I hope I explained myself. Yes. So if you're a professional architect and I come and mentor unto you, I am learning something, right? And 20 years later, have I not learned anything? Should I be allowed to vertically? No, that's what the question is.
I've got a question for Nish. With not discounting race at all, do you not think that there are not many architects not many people who get into the architectural level because you have to have money to study architecture? Your family must have had money to be able to support you while you're studying. So the 3 years of study, you're not earning an income. Then 2 years of prac, you earn a little bit of income. Now you've got to give that up and you've got to go back to university for another 2 years and support yourself, not earn an income. Go back. Go back again. Is that, not that it's not a racial issue, but there are certain people, myself included, who have battled with that. So isn't it an elitist thing where it's basically old money is allowing the new architectural students to come through, and if you don't have that old money, then you are disadvantaged? Sorry, my name is Rosie.
Okay, Yashen has actually said we should actually open up the panel discussion because his questions are. I wanted the questions related to his talk. Okay, I don't know. You want to answer this one quickly, and I think you have some comment to make on it also, Yashen. Okay. Let's do it this way. Sorry. I'm going to get Dinesh to answer this. Let Yashen make his comment. We're going to go through the slides so very quickly because that is relevant to the panel discussion after that, right? And then no more questions. Now the questions will come after.
I agree with what you're saying. That finance is one of the challenges that is faced by those interns. And over and above that, there are other constraints which we're going to unpack in the slideshow. Right? So as we go along, I'm going to do a quick, so I've been given like 10 minutes to go through a 40-slide thing, so I'm going to be selecting certain slides to emphasize the points that we're trying to raise and create the awareness. It's a bit difficult to
Hi, sorry. Valid question. The reason for RPL is actually to allow access. And if you look at access, it's got to do with anybody that has experience in the workplace, that experience, and I'm talking from a SACWA NQF level now, that experience should be looked at, and mechanisms to award credit for experience should be considered via RPL, recognition of prior learning. And that spans across racial barriers. Because if you look at the past as well, and you're right, architecture has been an elitist profession where those that had money, but many professions are the same. Those that had money to study had the opportunity to study. I mean, I took 17 years to get an architectural qualification because of that reason. But South Africa has been very, very slow on the uptake with RPL. RPL in the USA, UK and Europe has been in existence for a very, very long time. South Africa used a very conservative way of training professionals, which is formal education. Now, if you look at the Higher Education Act and the SACWA RPL implementation policies, RPL is now non-negotiable. If you look at the articulation policy that you talked about as well. So what are they saying? In professions like architecture, it happens in medicine as well. If you go to New Zealand, medicine, how do you actually articulate professionally to RPL in medicine? And it exists elsewhere. So, our profession is still, if you look at during the apartheid time and even post-apartheid, there were never an adequate number of architects. Let's look at PRR, to service the population. One of the big challenges we have is that even those 3,000 odd architects that are registered, how many of them are servicing the communities most in need? Very, very few. Okay? So there are problems and challenges. What we're saying is that RPL is not a strategy just to recognize work experience. How do you evaluate that? How do you accredit work experience against an NQF level to establish equivalence? And what do you do about the gaps in learning? Because there will be gaps in learning. So I'll give you some background about that later. But it's not just about sorting out the racial imbalances in the profession. It's of gender equity as well, and also the lack of resources. Because currently now at university we're finding that there's just not enough money to study beyond 3 years. And that's where RPL is critical. It actually needs a complete change in mindset about what education is and how to get skills and training from different sources.
Thank you, Yushan. Okay, I'm not going to take any more questions now. The questions will come. We got a little bit of talk still by Dinesh.
Most universities overseas will pay for the postgrad, food, all accommodation, education, books, the whole lot. So it just shows you what's happening overseas and when we're far behind.
Thanks, Michael, for that.
Okay, we're going to ask the critical question here. How do we break the cycle of poverty and inequality? We're saying that group of people are dependent on the Department of Human Settlements for social housing assistance, and the Department of Human Settlements is accountable to the communities. We're saying when the communities get social housing assistance, is responsibility and sustainability attached to that? We ask the question, government has said that they have delivered 4.5 million housing units to the black community. We are asking the question why there is such a low demand for black architectural professionals. Is it because this community does not have work opportunities that create sustainability and responsibility, so they are trapped in these houses and they are unable to extend and put outbuildings and put garages And therefore there is such a low demand for black architectural professionals, 1,647 against 4.5 million beneficiaries of social housing assistance. We're not attacking the white community. We're saying that the ratio of 4.5 million to 7,000 is because that community demanded the services for architectural professionals. We're now saying, how are we going to fix this problem, and what is the problem that lies here? And we're saying sustainability and responsibility and the lack of work opportunities. Right? Guys, this is a 40-page slide. I'm just going to go through a few quickly. We're going to just define the missing middle in architecture. We're saying that the missing middle in architecture refers to individuals practicing architecture across the racial divide. Between the years 1970 and 2006, the date for compulsory registration gazetted by the late Minister of Public Works, Stella Sikau. Emphasis is on the historically disadvantaged individuals who were subject to apartheid legislation that was designed to limit work opportunities, access to the academic learning institution, and social injustices. We are saying that the historically disadvantaged individuals in the architecture profession have the following attributes. Architectural professionals with academic knowledge from ALSs but unable to obtain a qualification based on limited learnerships and mentorships. I've spoken to a few black graduates here. They're experiencing the same thing in 2018. Architectural professionals who are self-taught due to socio-economic challenges who were unable to access architectural learning sites. Architectural professionals with incomplete qualifications based on socio-economic challenges and learning issues. These are the issues you are raising. Architectural professionals with academic knowledge from ALSs who obtain work-based experience later and are denied architectural qualifications. There were people who went to university or the technicons. They were required to get in-service training, but they failed to get that in-service training. 20 years later, they acquired that in-service training, but that university or that technology university refuses to hand over that qualification and wants those people to undergo bridging courses. Okay, we're not going to go, we spoke about the Constitution. We then say, what are the challenges encountered by the Muslim building architecture? There's your answers here. Financial constraints, social constraints, integration into the architectural learning sites, rigid curriculum program, abundance of applications and limited spaces, location of architectural learning sites. Okay, we're looking, we are asking the question, what happens after land redistribution? What happens after land redistribution? Does the government have the capacity to produce the graduates to service the built environment profession? You all need to answer that. Does the government have the capacity? Does the architectural learning sites have the capacity to produce the graduates that we require? We then ask, what happens after land redistribution? What is the role of the built environment professionals after land redistribution? What are the expectations of the citizens of South Africa after land redistribution? Remember, government is going to be redistributing residential land, commercial land, industrial land, agricultural land. Are there sufficient built environment professionals to service the beneficiaries of that redistribution program? We're saying, what happens after land redistribution? Beneficiaries need to develop the land into physical spaces for the purposes of need. To sustain the built environment, infrastructure-related services are required. The demand for built environment professionals to provide the design-related services. These are the challenges we're going to be facing. Tomorrow, government gives 18 million people land, or whether it be commercial, agricultural, residential. There's no built environment professionals to service that demand. We just spoke on the data. We're not going to